A very good afternoon to you. If you are just joining us, it's Nihal, Arthanayake and Sarah Brett with you until 4 on Afternoon Edition. We have two big guests for you on the programme today. First of all, it's our great pleasure to be speaking to Victoria Derbyshire, who spent 16 years presenting here at BBC Radio 5 Live, winning 5 Sony Gold Awards.
Wow.
In 2015, she went on to host her own BAFTA award-winning daily news and current affairs show on BBC Two and BBC News Channel.
Now, that same year, Victoria was diagnosed with breast cancer and made the decision to share her experience very publicly in a series of video diaries. Those diaries have now reached 13 million people. Victoria's story has now been published in a book titled Dear Cancer, Love Victoria, a Mum's Diary of Hope. Hello, Victoria.
Hi, Victoria.
Hello, how are you?
Great, lovely to talk to you.
Oh, it's so lovely to be back on 5 Live.
Yeah, I know you tweeted that earlier, about how much you love the listeners and your time.
I feel really nervous. Isn't that pathetic? Because I love this station and I love the listeners so much, I don't want to be a prat or mess up or disappoint. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly. Well, that's every day, isn't it, as well? When you're broadcasting, you feel like that. So I want to take you on the other end of it. But it must be, I mean, because you mentioned it there, that must be quite the transition. You, in all of your years of journalism and interviewing, have been looking across at the table at people, into the eyes of people that have been through horrendous things and asking them to articulate their story. And now you have to do it.
I didn't have to do it. I wanted to do it, partly because of that experience of being on 5 Live all those years and all those people who did share some really quite distressing personal details with me. And that's a massive privilege, as you know. And I thought, OK, I've asked people about their challenges, so it felt natural to me to document my own.
We'll go back then right to the very beginning, the first entry in the book in 2015. Everything going well on the news show. You're only a few months into it, working hard at it, and then bang, everything changes. You discover one of your nipples is inverted. You Google it, as every person on the planet probably would at this stage. So what did you find?
It was 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd get up at that time to go to work, and I'd noticed the night before when I was getting ready for bed that my right breast looked as though it had collapsed and the nipple was being pulled backwards. And I thought, oh, that doesn't look right. I'll sort it in the morning. I wasn't anxious or anything. And then I Googled at 4 o'clock in the morning with the kettle on, and various explanations came up, including hereditary, breastfeeding, surgery. And then number 4 was breast cancer. And there was a profound shift in my life because at that moment I thought, oh my gosh, I might have cancer. And I wasn't being hysterical or dramatic. It was a real possibility. And what do you do at that point? What I did was send an email to my other half, Mark, who was still slumbering peacefully upstairs, unaware of this shift in our lives, saying, hi, darling, just noticed something weird going on with my right breast. I didn't use the word cancer. Please, could you, when you wake up, please, could you ring the GPs and get me an emergency appointment? And then I went to work and did a 2-hour news and current affairs programme on TV and just carried on as normal in a sort of daze, waiting for that GP appointment.
In your heart of hearts, did you know at that point?
I didn't know at that point in my heart of hearts, but a couple of days later, I thought, I know I have breast cancer. Even, before it was confirmed, I just knew it couldn't be anything else. I hadn't breastfed my children for years. I hadn't had any surgery. There's nothing in my family. There's no history of it. I just thought there's no other explanation for this. It has to be breast cancer. But you are holding your breath until it's confirmed.
What about all your years, Victoria, of journalistic training? How did it leave you prepared for this? And also, how did it not help you? Because you're used to being in an environment where editorially, through the questions that you ask, you can point towards a direction. There is a direction of travel. Here, of course, completely the unknown for you.
Yes. I'm ashamed to say that despite having interviewed many cancer patients over the years, my immediate assumption when I was told that what was inside me was malignant was, I am going to die. Now, that is not the case for everybody. But my automatic assumption was, I am not going to see my boys grow up, my young boys grow up. I'm going to leave my partner as a single dad. Cancer, to me, meant a death sentence. Now, some of us will die from cancer. That is just a fact. We can't gloss over that. It is outrageous and it's unfair. But not all of us will. So despite my experience of interviewing people who've been through it, I got that bit wrong.
Why did you go straight to that extreme, considering, of course, you're someone who looks for evidence, you would look through the statistics, you would see survival rates, but you went straight there?
I just thought, my luck's run out. I just thought, this is it. I just, it was just such a blow. I'm quite organised. I'm really efficient. I've got everything in place. I have a lovely family. I love my kids. I love my job. I've got amazing friends. And I just thought, okay, well, it's just the way the dice rolls, and it's just going to be my turn. Because
it was, I guess, the absolute last thing that you were expecting. The shock of it. And initially, I mean, every time that you ring somebody, it's like, can you believe it? You say to them, I've got cancer, can you believe it?
And there were a few swear words thrown in as well.
Yes, there were. Can you believe it? For sure. But there is that level of, well, I'm sure everybody goes through it, but there's such a range of emotions. You are incredulous.
But also, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
I was 46. That's young in breast cancer terms. That's, 1 in 8 women in this country will be diagnosed with breast cancer at some point in their lifetime, and most of those women are over 60. So it was a huge blow that I just did not see coming, and I thought, what the heck is going on? This is just outrageous,
It's such an emotionally charged word, and you say that you automatically assumed that you were going to die. You've said that. But you talk about the way that there is still a stigma around the illness, that people still talk about it in hushed tones. Why do you think that is?
Some people don't call it cancer. They still call it the big C. Now, I think that's mostly generational. Mm-hmm. Some people can't say the word cancer. Briefly, I entertained before we told our children. I said to Mark, should we tell them, but without using the word cancer? Now, obviously, that was absurd. But even to me, I was thinking this word resonates and has such meaning and such significance in our lives that maybe it's better not to use it, which is, of course, ridiculous. And we have a vocabulary around cancer which I understand, but I don't subscribe to, which is this sort of warrior type vocabulary. And as soon as the GP said to me, it is malignant, I was already trying to compare it to other illnesses. I was thinking I would not be saying, if I had diabetes, I'm fighting diabetes, or if I had Parkinson's, I'm fighting Parkinson's. We have given cancer this powerful status, and of course it's hugely serious and hugely significant, but it's an illness like other illnesses, and I wanted to normalise it, if that makes sense.
One of the loveliest bits about the book to me is the constant presence of your 2 boys, of your 2 sons in it, and the interventions that they make, which adds so much warmth to the story. How did you end up telling them?
We told them the truth, and we told them after several weeks of me having tests and biopsies and scans. And by that point, it became clear that I wasn't going to die from this, that my cancer was treatable, albeit via a mastectomy and chemo and radiotherapy. And so that was euphoric for us. You think, wow, I'm going to survive this, and so I can absolutely do this treatment. And now is the absolute right time to tell our boys, who were then 8 and 11. And so we said, I said, and they'd been to the hospital with me a couple of times, and they'd been to the GP surgery, so this wasn't a shock to them. I said, I have breast cancer. I have what a friend of ours had a few years ago. And this friend, Natalie, had been round to our house a few days before, and I'd said, I have you saw Natalie on Saturday, and you can see that she's alive and she's well and she's healthy and she's happy. And that's what I have. And I'm going to have some treatment over the next few months, and then we can get on with our lives. And it was really low key and really undramatic. And they took it. And then 24 hours later, my older son said, "Are you not angry you've got cancer, Mummy?" Because I am. And it was a really good question. And I said, "I'm not. I explained what the statistics were, and I said I could be, but why waste that energy on being angry when actually we could use that energy to just focus on getting through the treatment and getting well?" And he accepted that.
What about the energy required to write letters to those two little boys in the event that you may not see them again?
I'm going to get upset, Nihal. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry, this is mad. Sorry.
Of course you can be. Listen, can I just ask you one question, sorry, from the back of the book, just while you're thinking?
Yeah.
I've got a son. How do you get him to say I love you 10 times a day?
Oh,
I can't get my son to do that. I've just bought him a Spurs membership for young Spurs membership. Hopefully then he'll get a chance to say love it. I saw that. I was like, oh, how do you get her to do that? Have you kind of used Jedi mind control to be able to do that? It's fantastic. I saw that immediately. But just if you don't mind me, just saying about
Oh,
the
no, I don't mind at all. Oh, gosh, if I was you, I'd be asking exactly that question. So the night before my mastectomy, I was completely cool about having surgery because, hey, it was going to get rid of the cancer. So I could not wait. But I was really irrationally anxious about the anaesthetic. And I just thought, what if I don't wake up? You know, I really want to wake up because I've got loads to live for. And of course, it's absurd because millions of people have anaesthetic every single day and they wake up. Anyway, just in case I didn't, which I know is mad, I wrote a letter to each of my boys just explaining how much I love them. And I said to Mark, and he was humouring me, I said, I'm going to put these in our bedside drawer, and if anything happens, please give them, to Joe and Oliver. And he said, of course I will. And I wrote them, and I felt really upset when I was writing them. But as soon as I'd written them and sealed them and put them in the envelope and in the drawer, I could sleep. And I went to sleep completely sort of with peace of mind.
Where are they now, those letters?
They are in my bedside drawer. My boys have read them. And they cried, and they handed them back to me, and it was fine.
Amazing.
There have been a lot of tears along the way. I think probably you've not cried as much in your life as you have over the past 2 years.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, I don't think about cancer that much now, but when I talk about it, as we are now, it's clear to me it's still a bit raw, and also, if I can't cry on 5 Live, then where can I cry? I mean, goodness me, it feels like my spirit's
My
flying.
mission was definitely not to upset you. That's
No,
for
I know.
certain.
You're not upsetting me. You are, honestly, Nihal, you are absolutely not upsetting me. It's just, talking about it sometimes makes me weep.
Understandably, yeah, especially when it comes to the two boys. One of the things you noticed just after the diagnosis was that there were no photos of you up in your house. And this is the other thing that I thought was interesting and plays into that sort of quite fatalistic attitude that you had early on, that you weren't going to make it. You started putting photos of yourself up in the house.
Well, I before I knew that it was treatable, I was trying to read the pathology report, which is the report that comes when you've had a biopsy. And
Big mistake.
Yeah, it was a mistake. And it's language I didn't understand. And I was trying to Google, what does this mean? And it was making me very distressed. And I was on my own in the house. And I looked up and I looked around the front room and I thought, oh my gosh, because of course I take all the pictures when we're on holiday or, whatever events. I take all the pictures because I like photography. And so I thought, wow, okay, so I need to get some pictures of me in some frames, because when I die, at least when people come round, there'll be a photograph of me and they'll say, oh, is that your mum? To my boys. And my boys will say, yeah, that's my mum. And I mean, it's just, in hindsight, it seems mad and bizarre and absurd, but at the time it made sense.
You're already trying to make yourself be there, like when you teach your son how to carve a chicken.
Sarah, you've read every line of this book.
I have.
And
again, that made me cry. That was the moment that made me cry.
What, me teaching Joe how to carve a chicken?
Because you thought, when would you ever do that
I know,
normally?
I know.
But you were clearly in your head thinking
Sarah's impressed their partner doesn't cook very often. Is that
my father is a butcher, and my father taught me how
doesn't
to
mean you can
carve
be a
a
great cook
chicken.
because you kill animals.
Look, it's amazing, isn't it? But, the things that you probably wouldn't have bothered with had you not had this diagnosis.
And of course, and the rationale there again is, okay, well, I'm just passing on these skills now. I mean, I was explaining to Mark where you put the salt in the dishwasher because he doesn't know, and if I'm not around, who's going to know?
And you go to Barcelona for a holiday right in the middle of everything. Is this just after your diagnosis, but before your mastectomy?
Yes, yeah.
And during that visit, you go to Park Güell early one morning in Barcelona with the boys, and you have this wonderful morning together. But you catch yourself all day long asking them questions like, what sort of principles have I instilled in you?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed now, Sarah.
Don't be
I'm
embarrassed. Because I would do exactly the same thing.
I was just trying to just to see if I really had any influence on their lives by the ages of 8 and 11. I suppose it's yeah.
And what did they say?
We've tried to do what every parent tries to do, which is, be kind, tell the truth, all those things. So I was trying to see if those principles had lodged in their brain, and I don't think they came up with anything specific, typical boys. I said, but, remember, you've always got to tell the truth. Yes, mummy, yeah.
But then when they send you cards as the various hospital appointments come and go, some of the things that they say in that really do show the maturity of their years, don't they?
Yeah, one of the Get Well card when I was in hospital having had the mastectomy, Oliver wrote, I BLOODY, love you. Now, he's not allowed to swear. We brought them up properly, but he knew he could get away with it in that card.
Oh, is that a swear word? Oh, I better tell my kids that's actually a swear word.
I love his inventiveness.
And he wrote, things like, we knew you would pull through. Now, that's not the normal language of an 11-year-old, but he's heard other people saying that, and he'd written it in a card, and it was just very sweet, very sweet.
You talk, Victoria, a lot about having to tell people in the early days. It seems to be quite overwhelming for a lot of people. Some people handle it better than others, but you have to be the conduit, and you're quite happy then almost accepting that role of being the explainer.
Yes.
I guess because it gives you some control over it. But what was overwhelming for you was the reaction then that you got on Twitter when you first showed the outside world.
That was unbelievable and really, really inspirational. That is the word for it. I wrote, the reason that I did that was because there'd been a call to the BBC press office from a newspaper saying, oh, we've heard Victoria's really ill. And I was cross because I thought, I'm not even a bit ill. I wasn't. I didn't feel ill at all. So I thought, okay, well, I can put something on Twitter and explain why I'm going to miss the programme a little bit over the next few months. And then people just sent me incredible messages, including 5 live listeners and viewers to my programme. And
they're sending them in now, by the way.
Are they?
People saying how much they miss you. Yeah. Well, they can see you every day. On
that's true. That's true. Yes, and just things like, I've listened to you for years and I know you'll get through this. And one woman sent me a picture of herself up a mountain saying, this is me 5 years after breast cancer diagnosis. Just stuff like that, which from people I have never met and I probably never will. I would love to meet them. And it was it just gave me such a lift. It really did. And I'm going to take this opportunity to say thank you again. I did try to reply to everyone, but thank you so much because it meant such a lot and it really helped me.
How difficult was it to so publicly express your vulnerability, considering we are in a game where vulnerability is difficult to express openly in the game that we're in?
It wasn't difficult at all, if I'm being honest, because I felt I was just in terms of video diaries, I was just recording how I was. That was how I was at that moment in time. Right. And sometimes I was euphoric, like after life-saving surgery, with a bit of morphine thrown in. And sometimes I was very dispirited because chemotherapy, for example, can, really feels like it's brutalizing you and can make you feel like you're in some downward spiral that you're never going to get out of.
And I was at Christie's Hospital recently. We both were, in fact. And I remember going to one of the rooms where all the wigs are fitted and where people, and how important it is for people to feel, men or women, to feel that there is a sense of physical normality there.
That was hugely important to me. Losing my hair came, about 2/3 of my hair fell out, despite wearing the horrible coal cap. It didn't really work for me, and that was very distressing. That was the most distressing part of the treatment for me. And I knew that I wanted to still go to work when I could, because that would make me feel like I wasn't only a cancer patient, and it would make me feel like this is my normal routine. This is what I do, you know. And the only way I could go to work and be on TV was by wearing a wig, because I thought if I'm wearing a brightly coloured scarf, or you can see that my hair's falling out, it will detract from the guests or the stories that we're doing. So to wear a wig seemed the most sensible option to look normal, if I can put it like that.
Yes. Well, let's have a little listen to part of that cancer diary now on that particular subject. This is when you reveal the hair loss caused by your chemotherapy.
I'm in a hotel room. I'm getting ready to go to a friend's 40th downstairs. It's 2.5 weeks since the first chemo, and it's 4 days until the second chemo. And just wanted to show you this. This is the first bit of hair of mine that has fallen out. I was prepared for it. Obviously, it's a side effect of chemotherapy, but it's slightly disconcerting nevertheless.
What is that process like, being fitted and making feel comfortable, and then the before and after of how you feel, Victoria?
In terms of having the wig fitted, you mean?
Yes, and what it gives you.
It's upsetting because you're preparing to lose your hair, and it's surreal. You know, I was sitting in a small kind of salon in Richmond, above an estate agent, looking in a mirror and having cellophane taped to my head to get the shape of my head, before choosing human hair that looks vaguely like the colour of my own hair. It's surreal. And you almost, I mean, I thought the coal cap would work for me. I sort of think I'm invincible and everything's going to work for me and it's all going to be fine. So I never thought I didn't think I would end up wearing the wig. I thought my hair would be fine, but I was prepared for it. I had this wig made just in case. And then when it came to the day of going to collect it, I'd washed my hair before I went to collect the wig, and during the process of washing it, some of it was coming out, some of it was getting stuck in the hair that remained on my head, and it ended up just being a tangled mess. And so I put a beanie on, drove to the Amy who made my wig, and said, I don't know what to do. And she'd seen it all. She patiently brushed my hair out, so there was a great big clump on the floor. And then she brought my wig out on this polystyrene head, and it took my breath away because it really looked like my hair. And then she showed me how to put it on, and it was quite fiddly, I have to say. And I thought, I can't do this. And once it was on, I sort of looked at myself, and I looked like me, but not like me. And after a bit, I said to her, it looks all right, doesn't it? Or does it not? I just couldn't be sure. But yeah, it really helped me. I'm really grateful to my wig, which I still have in my at the bottom of my wardrobe.
Excellent. Which has freaked your husband out on many occasions when he saw it just sitting there on the dressing table.
Yeah, he would just walk in at night and suddenly there's a headless mannequin. It's like, oh, double take.
Victoria, we're going to nip to the news and sport, as you will well know, very shortly. But just on that note, people might be surprised to hear that actually the hardest thing for you was not losing a breast, was losing your hair, which you knew would grow back.
I know.
What is that?
Does it sound superficial to you?
No, it doesn't sound superficial. It sounds really interesting, and I want to know why it is.
Okay. Do you want me to tell you before the news or after the news?
Yes, tell us
Okay.
now.
Because I've had long hair all my life. It's really part of your identity. And if you look in the mirror and your hair has fallen out, then you look like a cancer patient. And I never wanted to look like a cancer patient because I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. And also, you have no control over it. I felt absolutely powerless. There is nothing you can do when your hair falls out. You cannot stop it. You know, I've got a plan for everything. I can get myself out of any old mess when the proverbial hits the fan. On that occasion, I could not. So I felt utterly powerless.
Victoria Derbyshire is with us because she has written a book called Dear Cancer, Love, Victoria, a Mum's Diary of Hope. You have written a diary almost every day since you were 9 years old. Is that right?
Since I was 9, yes. Not necessarily every day. Sometimes I will get to the weekend and catch up with, you know, the last few days. But yeah, I have. I've got loads of them in my wardrobe.
And you never read them?
I don't read them, no, because they are excruciating and embarrassing. But I love having them. I just love having them. It's just this record of stuff that I've done and emotions I've experienced and boys I fancied and gigs I went to and clothes I wore. And you know what I used to do as well? Every Sunday night I would write you remember the Radio 1 chart show countdown?
Top 10.
I would write the top 10 every Sunday night, yeah.
So how has that helped you then when it came to doing this? Because of course you kept a cancer diary throughout your treatment, and that forms a huge part of the book. It is the book, really.
Yeah, I think it had everything down there that happened to me in terms of tests and emotions and ups and downs, and so it was the framework, if you like. I'm pretty matter of fact a lot of the time, and that's what my diary's like. So in the book, I've used it as a framework to sort of reflect a bit more, I suppose.
There are days where you will write just one line. For example, I think it's November the 10th where you say, I think I'm going backwards, which was clearly quite a dark day. And this is when you're right into the chemo. And it's when you start feeling really sick. And it's only a couple of days after that, I think, that you say, or maybe a month after that you say it's the worst time in your cancer. So chemo was the hardest part, undoubtedly.
It was, because it makes you ill in order to get better. So you have to get your head around that for a start. It has some unpleasant side effects, and it drains you and made me feel like an old woman. And then after 7 days, I thought, I can go back to work actually. So it's bizarre. You have these crushing lows and these tremendous highs where you think, I'm fine again. So yeah, it wasn't terrifying. It was unpleasant.
Well, here is the part of your diary during 6 weeks of radiotherapy. And this has come after you've completed the chemo. You're on the final stretch. You've got your radiotherapy. And you talk about whether the cancer might come back.
I'm having a real wobble today. I don't know why, but I'm just thinking about, and I'm sure this is completely normal and everybody who's ever had a cancer diagnosis will think this. I am thinking about what if this cancer comes back. Obviously, I never ever want this to happen, that to happen. I never want to go through chemotherapy again, ever. I just do not want it to come back. And I don't know why this is in my head today. I don't know what the reason is. I can't think of anything rational. But it's there.
That was Sunday, the 1st of May. How do you feel listening back to that?
Okay, actually. I'm okay listening back to that. Because there were happy times during those video diaries as well. I feel like I've been a bit depressing, so I'm sorry about that. There were loads of positives from my cancer experience, which was totally unexpected. You know, some of the people I met in the NHS, the Utra, the breast cancer nurse who looked after me, the surgeon who saved my life, the woman who made my wig, the amazing response from complete strangers. There were some of the moments, I had some of the best laughs of my life with my friends, drunk in the kitchen at 2:00 in the morning, because you live more intensely, if that makes sense. And completing treatment was absolute elation, like I've never felt in my life before.
Well, that recording that we just took it from there was literally only about 2 weeks less, 3 weeks before you had your very last treatment. But why do you think you were having a wobble? Because it was all coming, the treatment was coming to an end.
I think it was, and I was reflecting on things, and I just didn't want it to come back. Don't want it to come back. But as you move away from the end of treatment, for me, those fears have receded. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
How do you get your friends to be comfortable with it? So that they're not tiptoeing, so they're not projecting, even if they don't wish to, something that makes you feel more uncomfortable?
I believe the word journey was banned early on.
It was. Just by being normal, just by talking, just by being really open. If you met my friends, Nihal, you'd know they're pretty open and normal and straight and say what they feel.
Why does that not surprise me, Victoria, in any way, shape or form? Yeah.
So in
I bet
that
it's
sense,
a powerful crew that you've got, yeah.
In that sense, that was not difficult. And they, you know, they just did a lot of stuff for me. I'm really lucky to have friends and family like that who did practical, pragmatic things like picking the boys up from school sometimes, or running them somewhere, or, you know, my brother-in-law-to-be making food for us and bunging it in the freezer, all those things, because effectively Mark was a single dad for some of the time that I was being treated. All those practical things are really, really helpful. And, you know, they stepped up.
Right. Let's hear from Victoria, who is in Brighton, who's got in contact with the show. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi, Victoria.
What made you want to get in contact? Well, yeah, Victoria, meet Victoria. What made you want to get in contact with the show this afternoon, Victoria?
Just so lovely to just hear Victoria talking just completely normally. I feel a real affinity with what sort of she's been through, although obviously everyone's experience is different, but I was also diagnosed when my kids were little. My kids are now the same age as Victoria's. I've just done exactly the same in many ways as she's done, with trying to tell them all the time things that that almost kind of bring them up quite self-consciously. And I'm never sure whether that's the right thing, but as I started that when they were 2 and 4, and now they're 8 and 11, I kind of think actually it's been a good thing for them too.
Right.
You know.
And how are they? How are they now?
They're fine. You know, they know, I think, more than other kids about cancer, and they know more than other kids probably about death and dying, and they think about things in a different way. But I also think that it enables you to just live, as you say, you live in a different way. You live day to day. You appreciate everything. Everything's quite vivid, and you can really, when you've got appointments coming up, you can really condense time so that you can enjoy every moment until the moment you're in there and the moment the oncologist is going to say it's fine or it's not. I feel that I can really experience everything happily until that very moment when I know he's going to open the door and go, Victoria.
Yes.
And I'm going to just think, oh, God, please let it be good.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is a watershed. It has been for me a watershed period in my life because it's such a big deal. And I lived life to the full before, but there's something different about the way I'm living it now. It's even fuller, or I want to say yes to everything, or I just squeeze the life out of every second if I can, those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, good luck to you, because it's just lovely to see, and yeah, I feel the same.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Victoria.
Thanks for your call, Victoria.
Thank you.
Bye.
Can we hear from Kelly in Essex now? Is Kelly up?
Oh,
Brilliant.
hello.
Kelly. Good afternoon.
Hi, Kelly.
Hello, Victoria.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Yes, I'm. I think, as I said in my text message, I'm on my 3rd week of a phased return to work.
Okay.
After a year having the treatment for breast cancer, and so I'm a tad fragile. So it's been really lovely to sit and to listen to you in my lunch break, and it's giving me some strength actually, and some real positive thoughts. So thank you very much.
Oh, that's a pleasure. That's a pleasure. Is it? How are you finding going back to work?
I'm finding it okay. I've got a fantastically supportive company that I work for.
Brilliant.
Who have supported me all the way through. There was no pressure applied to me at any point. As I say, I'm back on a phased return. So one day, I'm trying to take one day at a time. I'm tired, but I'm getting there. So it's good. It's all good.
Okay.
All good, Kelly.
And what about your 2 children, Kelly? It's interesting listening to the last Victoria who called in, saying that she sort of self-consciously raised them to be aware of everything and squeeze every moment out of every bit of time she has with them. How has it been for you with your children?
Absolutely. I mean, to begin with, I was absolutely terrified to tell them, and it took me some time to do that, and I avoided it in every way possible. But when I told them, they were amazing. And my daughter's 14 and my son is 10, and they were absolutely incredible. And I'm so glad that once I told them, it just lifted something, and then we all became a unit, and we all worked together. And it just made things so much easier to tell them. And yeah, they've got this real understanding now, and they're positive. They help you to be positive as well.
Definitely.
And the silver linings that you get. I mean, obviously what I've been through is just so tough. But there are so many silver linings, and I think that's the most important thing. You can find them.
And also, sorry to interrupt, Kelly.
That's okay.
You say what you've been through is so tough, but you did it. What an immense achievement. I mean, really, you give yourself a pat on the back. It is extraordinary. You did it. You got through it. You're here.
Yes, I know that, and it's so tough. And during the process, I didn't want to listen to anybody else's stories. I didn't want to hear anything else. I just felt like I needed to keep myself separate and deal with this in my own way. But I think the really nice thing now is that I feel like I want to listen and I want to hear other people's stories, because you need someone to relate to, and that they relate to you too. So this has been a really positive thing for me today.
Oh, great, Kelly.
Good
That's
luck.
great.
Stay well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly
Thank
Barrett.
you.
We're talking to Victoria Derbyshire. Her book is called Dear Cancer, Love Victoria. And on that note, we decided to go and meet some people. John Hampshire, Tracy Pearson and Gilbert Morgan at the Christie Hospital in Manchester. And this is their message for the disease.
Dear Cancer, I wanted to tell you that initially you're a very frightening existence, really, particularly the shock of meeting you for the first time.
Dear Cancer, you will not control me and you will not define me. I am me and I'm going to stay me. I've got my friends around me and we're going to beat this.
Dear Cancer, I beat cancer, not just for me, for the people that have already gone before me.
It does feel, in many ways, like an alien growing inside you, over which you have no control whatsoever.
It's just like a slate dropping on your head. It's like, oh my God, what I'm doing. My name's Gilbert Morgan. I've had cancer for 3 years, but I've got the all clear now.
I'm a mum of 3 young children with a husband, and we've had to fight through it. He's dragged me through my darkest hours, and the children keep me going. It's been a long journey. I'm just hoping to see the light at the end of the tunnel very soon.
I mean, it is a serious disease you have to take seriously. You can't just ignore it and hope it'll go away, because it won't. All you can do is to somehow try and limit its development. And that is quite a difficult concept, because generally in medicine you look for cure. Cancer doesn't seem to be in that category, certainly not the one that I've got, I suspect. So I'm going to have to learn to live with it for the rest of my life, however long that might be.
Prostate cancer, what I had, is very, very prevalent in my ethnicity background, Afro-Caribbeans. 1 in 4 black men will actually get prostate cancer in their life. Now I'm a cancer champion. I'm involved with Macmillan, I'm involved with Christie. I'm also the face right now of Prostate Cancer UK. I'm on billboards, I'm on bus stops, I'm on buses. My pictures all around London, Birmingham, and hopefully coming to Manchester. If I can save one life, I know I've done my job.
It's been a long journey, but I will get there, and I will stay in control and take the reins all the way.
Still extraordinary to me that 1 in 4 black men will get prostate cancer at some point in their lives. It is just such an underreported area of cancer. That was John Hampshire and also Tracy Pearson and Gilbert Morgan. For you, Victoria, what do you hope this book is going to achieve?
I hope that it will mundanify cancer. That's not even a word, but normalise it. And I hope it will show that depending on your diagnosis, you can, while you have cancer, while you are going through treatment, you can go to work, you can get drunk, you can pick the kids up from school, you can do all these normal things which I did not know you could do with a cancer diagnosis. I thought effectively you would sort of shut yourself away for 6 months and be treated quietly and then return to work at some point in the future. If you want to do those things, it is possible to do them. And I suppose that's what I want to get out there through the book.
Well, listen, it's been a real pleasure actually reading the book, because there are lots of highs in it, and it's a lovely it's a love story as well, with you and your two boys and your husband, and it's been an inspiration for a lot of people, not least of all of those who have texted the programme today.
Thank you
very much
Thank
for
you,
being with
Nihal.
us.
Thanks, Sarah.
Victoria.
Thank you.
Really, really great. Victoria Derbyshire, and the book is called Dear Cancer, Love Victoria, a Mum's Diary of Hope.